listening to Taylor Hall earlier, he basically said he used his no trade to help get himself to Boston. Were you limited almost to dealing with the Bruins as far as, because he has the no trade, he could kind of decide, yeah, I like that offer, or no, I don't, or that city that I want to go to. Were you limited basically to Boston as far as trying to trade him?
Yeah, that's fair to say, Paul. I think there's obviously nuances between a no trade and a no move clause and what all that means. But the reality of the situation is, back in the offseason when we signed Taylor, and we felt strongly that we needed to have a 1-year deal to make sure that we were being disciplined and remain flexible moving forward. Part of the agreement was to be able to offer him a no move clause, and I understand that. So certainly the situation played itself out where neither side were happy with where the team was right now, and we talked a bit a few weeks ago just to start to get ahead of it. And what I told him is, I need to understand from you and kind of what you're thinking, and then we'll just stay in touch. So the message from Taylor and Darren Ferris, his agent, was if there was a way to put him in a position to be at a Stanley Cup contending team and have an opportunity to get in the playoffs and win a championship. And I completely understand that. So what I told them is that I would go to work and I would keep them posted on where things were. And that's what I did. And as we got to yesterday, when things heated up a little bit, I would say, I guess that's the right way to say it, obviously stayed in touch and got to a point where Taylor felt that Boston was the team that he wanted to go to. That was where he felt was the best fit. And contractually, he had earned that right to make that call. So we focused our attention there, and obviously was able to get a deal done, and excited about it because I feel that we were able to accomplish a couple of the things in the deal. Obviously, draft pick that helps us build towards the future in our pipeline, and a player that we are excited about and feel can step right into our lineup and help us now. And he fits our kind of mold of what we were looking for, and also just on the ice, but age. So maybe a long answer, Paul, but that's kind of how we got to where we got to with Taylor's situation.
Afternoon, Kevin. Obviously, with Linus's contract, the way he's played, I'm sure that you might have gotten some calls on him. The decision to keep him and maybe risk a little bit. What about talks with Linus's agent, or just the situation made you comfortable moving forward with him on an expiring contract this next month or so?
Yeah, this for me was dates back even to the off season. We've said all along we want Linus to be a Buffalo Sabre, and we really feel good about where his game is at. And we've had great conversations, been ongoing, continue to talk right now, and I've spent time with Linus just one-on-one having conversations about philosophically where we're at, and where we're looking to get to, and what is he looking for. And that's my style, to have. I think that's an important relationship to have with your players, and it's not about dollars and cents. It's more about vision and where are we headed and why. And we've had those conversations, and we'll continue to work at it. But priority for us is absolutely to sign Linus, and he and his agent both know that.
Hey, Kevin, John Warrow, AP. I've got two questions. One is, how much did the salary cap crunch play in how the moves were affected, not just with you, but just around the NHL, it seems? And my other question is, what do you make of the job Don Granato's done so far?
Yeah, I think in terms of the salary cap, there was a lot going on, obviously, with the trade deadline this year, and maybe that hadn't been previously. And I guess what I mean by that is uncertainty of where it's going to go, and the cap being flat this past year and where it goes from here. And obviously with the protocols and the COVID restrictions in terms of whether it's the quarantines or just the COVID rules in general, made things certainly challenging for everyone. But I think that you want to do your best to gauge the market, and I think every year will be different, but do your homework, make your phone calls, listen, have as many conversations you can to understand what's going on around the league, and then do your best with the situation you're in. And that's what we did. So I do think it played a role, though, for sure, John. And in terms of Donnie, what I see right now out of our team is a team that's playing with purpose. I see a bit of more structure to our team, in terms of our defensively, look more on our toes, pressuring. And we have a bit of looks like more of an understanding of the why are we doing certain things. And then on the offensive side, I think I saw before maybe a team that was caught in the middle. And I don't know if I said that before in previous press conferences, where we had a lot of talented players, but we were kind of just this in between, it felt like, where now we're a bit more on our toes. And I feel like our D are freed up to be getting up ice. And another part of the offensive isn't just, making a pass and entering the zone clean. It's, well, what do you do with the puck if you are closed off at the line? And is there an automatic out where you're going to go with the puck where your line mate knows where to get it? So I see more purpose in our game. And, like I said to you before, we need to raise our competitiveness. We needed to raise our level in practice. We're practicing, although you guys know practices are tough right now with our schedule. But when we do practice, we've had better tempo, we've had better compete. From the data that we get after practice, the numbers show that as well. And what I think that's translated into is a team that can skate and have better pace and compete harder. So Donnie's done a nice job, and he's a hockey coach. He's a guy that shows up every day prepared. He's been around the game a long time. He's been a head coach for a number of years. Obviously, you guys know that, and the guys really like playing for him, and that's so we're just gonna work to get better, and that's gonna be the message from here on out, to find ways to improve as an individual and as a team for the rest of the year here.
Hi, Kevin. You explained it already a little bit. I get to thinking why you couldn't get a first round pick for Hall, the way he's played and the way the market's limited. I guess my question is, you kept salary and you helped Boston by taking York off their cap, and you traded Lazar. The two questions are, what's in this for you? And the second is, why were there no conditions on the pick based on how Boston does going forward?
Well, I think, I would look at it a bit different than how you're framing it then, I guess, Mike. We really like Anders Bjork as a player. We think he's going to help our team. We think he's got speed, he's got compete. We see an offensive upside chance with the role that could expand in our team. So he was a guy that we identified and liked what he brought. So for us, that was something that was important. And maybe I didn't explain it really clearly, and maybe I can do a better job with it. But, as you get down to the wire in negotiations, and, I certainly was talking to as many teams as possible, but the number gets limited quickly on who can make a deal like that work. And then ultimately it's in the player's control where they want to go. So when you get down to the wire, you're negotiating and doing your best for the organization, where we were with one team. And I feel strongly that in the situation we were in, and I respect where Tyler was in his position, that we did the best we could possibly do in the short term and in terms of the longer term with the draft picks. So I feel that I'm excited about Bjork. He's gonna be a good player that comes in and has a chance to play a bigger role. And I think that's sometimes what it takes for players to grab an opportunity and run.
I mean, I think a lot of people were kind of surprised you traded Curtis Lazar. He seemed to fit in well. He was cheap. You just signed him to a contract. How hard was it to part with him? Yeah,
unbelievable guy, just good team guy, played well for us. And, I'm not surprised that Boston, then I told Curtis this late last night, the hours are running together here, but when I spoke to him late, I'm not surprised that Curtis was targeted by Boston. He's a good hockey player and plays his role well. That's the hard part of this business, especially when you're talking about quality people and having to make hard decisions. I think from our perspective, we feel that we had a chance with a player like Bjork to have a bigger impact on the offensive side of the game with an expanded role than maybe where Curtis's role was. And so we'll see where that goes. But no, I wish Curtis all the best. He's a tremendous person and was really good for us here.
Hi, Kevin. Taylor declined to get into specifics, but he did say how, the no move clause really helped him to become a Bruin. And with a player in that situation where he has that no move clause, is that a situation where just fewer teams are calling in because you don't know if you can get a deal done because he has to waive the clause? Or are offers coming in, but you have to kind of speak with Taylor and make sure he's okay with it?
Yeah, I think one thing to differentiate on that is there's a very big difference between conversations and offers. I would say, talk to everybody and, talk to teams around the league in terms of interest in what I was doing. Like I said in the beginning, explained is gauging where everybody was at. Some teams were, we're not in a position to do that right now for either where our team's at or financial reasons. Other teams were, hey, keep me posted, don't know if that works for us. Other teams were, well, maybe we would be interested, let's see. And then you narrow it down to eventually where teams were a little bit more serious and getting to the point where you were having serious dialogue and then looking to take something to Taylor. And that's where we got to yesterday. And as I mentioned, when that conversation happened, Taylor was very professional and respectful, and he said, I want to play for the Boston Bruins, and that's the right he had. So it's I understand it. They're a good hockey team, and they've been a good team with a lot of good players for years. So it's understandable why he said that.
Hey, Kevin, is two things. Is it safe to assume that the coaching search will now extend into after the regular season with you guys having about a month left? And secondly, you talked about how you see more structure in the team's game with Don and how you have been impressed. And would it be fair to say that he has emerged as a strong candidate to potentially get this job, not on the interim tag?
Yeah, Matt, that's a good question. And I think from the beginning, I always felt that Donnie should be part of this conversation, and regardless of what happens exactly on the wins and losses of our team. But yeah, this is an amazing opportunity for Donnie to implement how he sees things and what he would do, and not just talking about, but actually doing it. So for sure. But I do think it's important to just have conversations and think about where we go from here. And in your question, yeah, we've been busy, and obviously the trade deadline here is consumed the most time over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, we'll definitely kind of take a breath and then look towards that. But for sure, Donnie Granado is a person that I absolutely think is in the mix for this and should be. And he's a great hockey guy. He's a great person, and I think the important thing is, the players do have a lot of respect for him, and that goes a long way as well.
Hey, Kevin, just wanted to see, is there any update on Jack Eichel's status? I mean, will we see him at all, do you know, before the end of the season? And how much communication do you have with him, while he's been out, and especially on days like this with the trade deadline?
Yeah, that's so communication's key with not just Jack, but players, coaches within the organization. So I've made it clear to the players, it's open door. We can talk as much as they want. I'm around the room. We have conversations daily. In terms of Jack, the update, he was again recently looked at by the doctors, and slight improvement from where he was at before. I don't want to go too much further than that, but it does look like he's still going to be out for a while. So where that puts him in terms of return, we'll have to see. It'd be great to get him in, even if it was late in the season, but just not sure. So we're going to have some more conversations over the next couple of days and get everybody on the same page with our doctors. But Jack and I do, you can ask him, I guess, but we do, I feel, have a good relationship. We talk, we've talked about his own situation. We've talked about our team. We've talked about previously when the coaching change was made, and helping him understand why and what I felt the reasons were. And I feel good that we have that open communication. And I've encouraged Jack to ask questions, and I've said this to you guys before, the players on the ice, they feel it, they know, they're in the trenches, they're dealing with it every day. So it's valuable for me to ask them questions and listen. Sometimes it's just important to ask the right question and then listen to the answer before you make decisions.
Hey there, Kevin. It looks like you're up to 10 picks in this year's draft, including 5 in the first 3 rounds. Was that kind of the plan going in, or was that how the trade talks just swerved towards?
No, it was definitely, John, the plan. One takeaway that I had last year from, in a short time preparing for the draft was it is tough to go into draft shorthanded. It just, you feel like draft picks are currency. And, besides building your pipeline, which I think is been lacking, you can also use that currency in other ways. You can package picks together to potentially acquire players. You could package picks together to move up in the draft. Maybe we need some pick for expansion reasons to help yourself, so definitely was a strategy going in. Once our team got to the point where we were not where we needed to be in the standings, there was a clear pivot from the hockey department in terms of strategy moving forward. We had 5 picks heading into this draft a few weeks ago, and I certainly feel better when I look at our draft and see that now we have, that type of currency. I think will definitely help us.
Hey, Kevin, it's Andrew Peters. A quick question for you. You've been through the big 3 now, the draft, free agency, and now the trade deadline. So after speaking with GMs and players at free agency last year, have you been able to get a better gauge on the direction you want to head going into next season? Yeah.
It's interesting you said that, Pete. I hadn't thought of that. The big 3, as you call it, it's you learn a lot. There's so many conversations and so much work that's done behind the scenes to get to the point where decisions are actually made. And then there's so much that goes on that actually, and then things don't happen. But that's part of the process too. So that's certainly helped. And yeah, I think part of what I see, Andrew, is we need to have a better team identity. We need to have more speed. We need to have more compete in our lineup. We need to have that character. And it's character, on ice character and off ice character. So, we said over the last few weeks, it's just not acceptable where we're at. And we're going to nobody's going to feel sorry for us. Nobody's going to just flick the switch and it just happens. We're going to have to earn our way to where we need to be. And that's going to be through building the team the right way. So I do feel comfortable that we have a plan, and we're gonna work extremely hard to get there. And obviously, loading up on draft picks that'll help us, identify that identity type players that we're looking for as we move forward and begin to build the pipeline back up in the organization.
Kevin, where are you at in the process of hiring an assistant general manager? Is that something that got delayed because of the deadline and all that is involved in this process?
Yeah, I have had conversations. I'd say I am very, very serious conversations over the last week with one potential candidate, and certainly we'll see where that one goes. But yeah, I was trying to do a lot of things in terms of juggling that. But no, it's been a priority since I probably spoke to you guys the last time, and do have a number of people that I have talked to already. And, depending on what happens here in the coming days, we'll continue that. But no, it's a priority. It's a huge hire in terms of, how we're putting together the hockey department and the structure. And like I said before, we need to build the front office back up. We need to hire more scouts. We need to make sure that we're putting the pieces in place from, our front office right through the scouting department, player development part, and just make sure that that as we move forward, we're having the right people in the right positions. But I do, that is a priority for sure, Lance, huge priority.
There we are. Sorry, Kevin, we need to revisit the previous question a little about Jack here. This is the captain, the face of your franchise. We haven't seen or heard from him in 35 days. Your answer is the first indication we've had it all that he might not be coming back this year. We all saw the neck situation in Long Island, whether that's what we're talking about or not. No one has given any indication. How serious a situation is this? And what is the reason for all the clandestine information on your captain when we get information all the time about injured players as a matter of routine?
Yeah, I think it's important that when we have the proper information to share in one way or how we're moving forward, that will be completely transparent. I think part of this for Jack has been to make sure that the reason he's not playing is because he's not healthy enough to play, and we need to help him, do everything we can for as an organization and to get him back there. But I think as we move forward here in the coming days, there'll be more clarity, Mike. As I said, had a little bit more information last week, and then here in the next couple of days, going to have some more conversations with the doctors, and then for sure, kind of what are the next steps and why, and be transparent with that information with you guys.
Kevin, what were the biggest reasons behind bringing in players like Bjork and Kajula at this point, and who else maybe do you want to see in the system get a look at the NHL level before the season ends?
Yeah, well, it is a little complicated, Brian, with the emergency recalls, how many recalls you get from a CBA perspective of regular recalls. So, it'd be great to say, hey, every player that's showing promise, we'd love to give them a taste of an NHL game over the next, few weeks. But the rules are, realistically, that's not possible. I will say there's been some really, really, for me, bright spots in Rochester. I think Samuelson's taken a huge step from where I saw him at training camp to the other day when I was in Rochester watching them play. He's really showing signs of a rapid development. Casey Fitzgerald's played very well down there. You're seeing positive signs out of Laxon, and that's on the back end. Obviously, UPL is a player that is, for us, is a top prospect that's continuing to learn and grow and getting huge minutes and opportunities. And now they're playing a little bit more of a condensed schedule. You're seeing that Wednesday, Friday, Saturday kind of games where they've had the last few weeks. And then up front, players like Murray and, obviously Ruotsalainen, and you've seen already, but those are players that have kind of taken off. Byro was playing very well. These are guys that have taken off. They're young guys. So we'll see where that goes over the coming weeks, but it'd be great to reward some of the players, if the rules and how all that works allow. And in terms of, the why on, even from, we haven't talked about Dre Kajula and, the waiver claim there. It's another identity type player, like speed, intensity, brings an element of just, that relentless kind of player that I feel we need more in our lineup. So that's why. And here we come in, he's quarantining right now. So it's the tough part of this. He's, with this commercial flight back from Arizona, it's per league rule. It's I think 7 days. And then he comes out whenever that would be on the weekend, I think. So you have to deal with the rules, but then he'll be back in. So that is the reason, but no, a lot of promise and of some of those younger players that you want to make sure we're continuing to help grow. And you certainly don't want to put players in a position they're not ready for, but you want to see, if possible, where they are in their game and challenge them to take the next step.